Welcome to the Investment Banking Leaders Podcast, brought to you by the Investment Banking Leaders Club, your exclusive access to the industry's most successful leaders. These experts have closed thousands of deals, generating hundreds of billions of dollars, and they're here to share their strategies, insights, and leadership lessons that can fast-track your career. But the learning doesn't stop here. Join the Investment Banking Leaders Club at ibleadersclub.com for even more exclusive insights, leadership frameworks, and career accelerating resources and events. Thanks for joining us, and best of luck on your growth journey. So we have another top guest for you all today. I'm pleased to be joined by Marcel Brix, who's the co-managing director and shareholder at Block Management, which is a fast-growing boutique investment bank based in Germany. Now, from humble beginnings as an intern, Marcel climbed the ranks the hard way, earning every promotion with grit, creativity, and his laser focus on origination. And today we'll explore how Marcel helped build one of the most ambitious boutique platforms in Germany, why he spends 90% of his time on origination, and what it really takes to grow a differentiated advisory business. We'll also unpack how he thinks about client service, team building, brand strategy, and how entrepreneurship changes everything from how you lead to how you sell. So super excited to get going. Welcome to the Investment Banking Leaders Podcast, Marcel, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you that I can be in your podcast. So very excited today. Now I'm a little bit on the other side, I'd say, because normally we also run our own podcast. So normally I'm the one that's interviewing all the people. And today I'm sitting on the other side of the chair. So very excited.
I get to ask you the questions for once. Yeah, great. And congrats on your podcast. I know you're way over 100 episodes now, which is impressive. So why don't we start at the beginning? As I said, you began your career as an intern, working your way up through the investment banking ranks. Can you take us back to those early years and how it shaped your mindset?
Yeah, absolutely. As you already mentioned, so I was starting many years ago. So having basically my master's degree in my pocket, and then I woke up or thought, oh shoot, I need to work somehow. So it's not like that I'm a student anymore. So what do I do? And I had some touch points doing M&A in my studies already, my master's studies, because we had a special class was called M&A valuation. So we did this with, I guess it was KPMG in Linz. So they came to us, we had a little workshop and we had tasks to evaluate a company. I did this valuation, presented it, and the guys thought, hey, look, do you want to be an intern with us? And so they offered me an internship, but it was like only for a 20-hour internship. But I went there, was in the interview, and then they told me, hey, look, it's 20 hours on the paper, but in real life, it's not like really 20 hours. So you always have to be available when we tell you have to be. And then I thought, hey, thanks, guys. Thank you very much for the invite. But at the end of the day, I wanted to finish my studies first, my master's, and then thinking about my career path. I passed on this opportunity, but got in touch with it and got very curious. And so I decided to work for investment boutique at first because I was an intern at Deutsche. So I had a little bit of like a bigger company, I'd call it, to figure it out if this is some way I wanted to proceed or not. And then I figured out, hey, look, those big institutions are not for me. I guess everyone is different. Someone likes it, someone does not like it. So and for me, it was always like I don't like it that much because you work, of course, you work in your own team in a big institution, but you don't know where the entire institution is moving, basically. So one day you say we go this direction, another way we say no, we need to go in the other direction. No, we need to go backwards, forwards. And then I thought, hey, look, guys, it's not for me. And then I figured, okay, let's apply for something else, look for smaller M&A boutiques around Frankfurt. Then I got basically lucky. I only sent it out like 2 CVs for 2 different jobs. And the second one was already made for me. So they gave me a chance to jump into an M&A boutique, a smaller one, not directly in Frankfurt, a little bit on the outskirts of Frankfurt. But then they also said to me, look, we hire you, we take you, but you are on probation. So you will be an intern for the first 3 months. Had my master's degree in my pocket, but they still told me, hey, look, you're just an intern. We want to see if you really prove yourself and can work your way up. And if everything works fine, you will become an analyst after that. And I thought, hey, look, it's okay for me. So I took basically the chance. Of course, salary was very low as an intern. And then I worked my way through there, but it was just a couple of months. And after that, they promoted me or gave me a fixed hire as an analyst. And then I basically started my career at this boutique. I was there for almost 2.5 years. Time was okay, learning curve was really high, so I learned lots of things because my CV is not like a classic M&A CV, so I did not have all those internships before, so I was basically also a little bit new to the industry. But at this point of time, I also met Oliver, so my business partner now and the founder of Block Management. So we basically shared an office together. So we were sitting there in this office, only two of us. So we got to know each other for almost over a year. And he also came from a bigger investment bank, and his daughter was born. And then he figured, okay, I might want to go to a little smaller boutique to have less workload. But in M&A, in the business, it doesn't matter if small or big, because if you have work, the work is always there. And after those 2.5 years, I left for another M&A boutique, a little bigger one, direct in Frankfurt. And at the end of the day, I was also basically in charge running the Frankfurt team and the office, bringing in my own deals and taking care of the people, also hiring people there. Oliver stayed with the last company, but then he also dropped out and he wanted to do something completely different, because he said, hey, look, I'm done with the M&A industry. I want to do something else. But then one of his clients approached him and said, hey, Oliver, I want to sell my company. Where are you going? And he said, I'm going nowhere because I'm quitting the industry. But then this customer basically convinced him to sell the company for him. He said, look, sell my company and afterwards you can do whatever you want, but please do it. I have a very good connection, very good link to you, and it's important for him. And he said, okay, look, I do it for you. But he wanted to do it right. So he founded the company, created a small website, and started working on that project. And yeah, from this project, there came 2 to 3 more projects up. And he figured, okay, hey, look, it's still fun working in that industry, but doing it a little bit of his way. So he had more freedom of doing it. And he also sold the company very successfully to a private equity company. And this was also the time when I joined. So he basically came up with the idea December 2021, where we just started talking. And then I'd say around Easter 2022, we figured it out and said, hey, look, okay, let's do it together and plan everything. And then I joined him basically 1 year later. So he founded Block Management 1st of September 2021. And I joined him 1 year later, 1st of September 2022. And since then, we are doing this as co-managing directors and co-shareholders, since we have 50-50% of the shares. There is no real argument between us. So he also said, look, we do 50-50. I don't want to be in an argument who brings in what kind of deal and who's working on which deal. And we never had that argument. And since then, we were basically growing and doing our own thing. So it's the long hours, long nights, hard work to keep everything up and running. And of course, the work has changed a little bit or shifted a little bit. At the beginning, when you're just alone, you need to do everything by yourself. So you don't have any people who are supporting you. And now the work has shifted a little bit because we have 22 people right now and we have an operating team that is functioning very well. Also, former employees or former colleagues of us who joined us, who found the idea amazing and basically joined us. And yeah, work has now shifted a little bit because we have now a very strong operating team, basically. And also, my role in the organization has shifted a little bit since then.
Nice. It's a great journey. And it's interesting how you spent some time in a larger bank and then joined smaller boutiques. And you saw that was the way where you could understand the direction of the organization. And you knew that from relatively young in your career. Now, obviously, you're involved in it with your own boutique. So that's obviously part of the mindset there. And congrats on the growth. I know you've gone, as you said, from a few interns in 21, 22 to 20 plus team members and dozens of live mandates. So congrats on the success. What were the early days like? What were the most critical decisions you made to lay the strong foundation for today?
Very good question. The early days were still rough, lots of work, but it was more like, I'd say, more like back to basics, because you don't have anyone. If a client or manager requests a financial model, you have to do it by yourself. So you have to open Excel and start modeling again. So it was like really back to early days, back to basics, because also when I was running the Frankfurt office for that other boutique, you still have people, analysts, you have interns, you have associates that are doing basically all the groundwork for you. But now no one is there really for you. So you have to do all the groundwork. And luckily for us, We had a few mandates right from the beginning, so it was like very busy for us right from the start. And we had to be on our toes, basically, Ollie and myself. So we had to do all the modeling, all the PowerPoints, so everything by ourselves because we had no one who was supporting us. So it was just the two of us. And also, we were at least lucky to hire 3 interns, and we had one part-time intern as an assistant. But also, those interns needed some guidance, and they weren't there from the beginning, so they just joined a few months later. Basically, it was like we had to do everything by ourselves. It's not you only have to do business development and origination and find new deals, write engagement letters, and all those kinds of things. But you also, if you win a new mandate, you also have to work on that. So you have to prepare the kickoff, all the documents, pretty rough times. The workload was even higher at the beginning because we also had to work on the weekends as well because we had a few nice mandates. So we had 9 sales sites at once and we were just the two of us. And then you have to prepare everything because no one is there and supporting you and doing anything for you. So you have to do the valuations, the financial models. We were just working there basically every day till 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning and then starting next morning again at 8 or 9 a.m. because there was much work to do and no one was there supporting. And then we started to grow slowly. Of course, you don't find any fixed employees in off season. So it was complete off season because we started in September and then we had all the new mandates coming up in September and October. And we were running brutally in that off season. And we just had 3 off season interns then. But then at the beginning, we were also sitting like in, let's say, it was like Rego Spaces. So it was like something like a WeWork where we were sitting like at this community area. And it was like also not the right place for us to be because everything we were working on is highly confidential. So we had the need of leaving that community space or area as fast as possible. We luckily found our first office on 1st of December 2022. So we moved in, was like one floor with 200 square meters where we were sitting there. And then we also struggled because we just had the office and the mandates running. So the office wasn't equipped. So we needed to take care of this as well. It was also pretty struggling and exciting because we don't have the people who are supporting us with that. It's not like that you have only the operating business all of a sudden. Then all of a sudden you also have the administrative business. You have to do all the bookings, the bills, you have to take care of the office. So you need to think about many things. So the day was not only filled by working on that project operatively to bring in some money, but also you have to do all the administrative things. You have to set this up as well. It was like pretty exciting times because you have this 360-degree view at the end of the day because you cannot just focus on one part of your job, what you normally do when you are a normal employee. Because if you run your own company, you have to consider every part of the company. So it's not only doing the operative business, you have to do business development, you have to do sales, you have to do marketing, you have to do the accounting, you have to do the office management. So you have to do many things when you run your own company. And the day was filled with many different things at the end of the day. And this is why the days got so long because we had zero support because we were just starting by zero. We also had no investor or anyone giving us money or supporting us. So it was just the two of us. The start was like, I'd say, I don't know, maybe a little rougher, yeah, because you don't have that financial backing anymore or have a big institution in your back. You have to figure it out by yourself at the end of the day. And yeah, so it's pretty exciting times. Also, the learning curve was pretty high at this point of time because becoming an entrepreneur is something completely different. Of course, it was not completely different from my work before because I also had much freedom before and I was also doing many things, but basically not the entire complete picture because I never had to worry about things or I was also in charge of maybe searching a new office if you move offices. So this wasn't new for me, but yeah, all those administrative stuff that you have now is completely new for me or was new because I had not be worried or to worry about it before. Yeah, so times were exciting. Learning curve was still pretty high because you learn different things as an entrepreneur and you have to take care of different things and you are all of a sudden you have also complete different responsibilities because even if you have interns, they also want to have their pay, which they also get. But yeah, you also have all of a sudden you have people, yeah, you have employees, you have to take care of them. So it was like a complete new learning.
It's fascinating listening to you and seeing and hearing how many hats you have to wear and how many new skills or new facets you need to focus on and get to grips with to build a business ultimately from scratch. And it takes a lot of grit, a lot of energy, a lot of effort, It's obviously not an easy path, but one that's really rewarding. Definitely can put myself in your shoes and think about what you would have gone through. I want to talk a bit about the origination side because that's so key, right? When you step out on your own, you have to be that driver of deals and relationships. And having spoken to you, it seems like origination's a bit of a superpower for you. And you now spend a lot of your time focusing on that, which I think is quite rare for a co-MD. I guess now you've got the operations in place and you've gone through those hard years, as you mentioned, you've got more time to focus on what's most important. But why is origination such a priority for you? How do you think you approach it differently from others, Marcel?
Origination or sales is key for every company. It's not just like a key topic for us as an M&A boutique, but it's also very important for every company out there because you can have a good product, but if you don't sell your product, then you don't make any revenues. Salespeople are very important, and also the way you talk to potential clients and customers is also very important. And without origination, you basically don't have the deals. Of course, it's also important to work on those deals operatively to basically get them closed and make everyone happy. It is also important, but also to have those deals or to be able to see those opportunities is also not that easy. So you need to run a strategy how you get to those leads or contacts. This is basically key for every operation. It's not only in our industry or especially for my business, but this applies to many different industries. But in our case, yeah, I was able to, or I was lucky that I was very early already in touch with origination or business development topics from early on, basically. So I was able to have contact many different entrepreneurs and potential clients out there right from the beginning. And of course, this helped and supported me through my entire career, basically, because also for your future career, if you want to turn from VP to director, at least the company is also expecting that you do some revenues or contribute to the organization in a different way. It's not, of course, you have your labor power and you do the operating stuff, but the organization sooner or later expect also that you bring in some mandates and clients. And as I mentioned already before, so it's you need to be on your toes, you need to be or you need to open your eyes and walk around the world with eyes open because you can do origination everywhere. Because if you work on an operating project and if you approach investors like corporates or private equities, those could be maybe potential clients in the future as well. So why not as well connecting to them while you're approaching them by showing them some of your projects? It's not that hard, but you basically need to be on your toes. And of course, you need to have, or what we do is basically we have different sales funnels, how we call it, or also marketing channels that we approach or play. And it's, I don't know if you call it superpower, but I used to work also as a student and I was also in sales before. So I got trained a little bit there, how salesmen worked and act and react. And I think this is also very helpful basically at the end of the day, because as an investment banker, if you want to make it to partner, you have to have a very 360-degree, very well-rounded profile at the end of the day, because at the beginning, you need to be very strong in the basics. You need to have your operations. You need to be able to read balance sheets and get all your modeling and all that stuff straight. Of course, this is also important that you be efficient and very quick with those things and high quality. But later on, your profile is shifting, because if you become VP or director, you are changing more and more into an origination role. Because if you want to become partner, and it does not matter if you're in a big investment bank or in a small boutique, you are all of a sudden responsible for your own payroll, and you have to have your own profit and loss statement always in mind, because you are the one responsible bringing in the deals and making sure that everyone has work and a paycheck at the end of the month. So your profile is changing completely. And it's always good if you learn something along your way. It's not only learning modeling and having those hard skills, but it's also important that you train your soft skills and your networking skills right away, because in a few years you might need them if you want to stay in that industry, because you need to connect to people, you need to be able to originate new deals, and it's very important that you go out there. And we have like many different channels. One channel you mentioned already is also our podcast where we build our brand. And it's not only for originating new deals, but basically overall we see the brand block management, and then it divides in basically hiring new people, which is also very important for us. And of the other side, of course, it's important for us to bring in new deals. And this everything counts into this overall brand strategy, block management, basically. And the podcast is also very good for new people, for us to hire new people, because everyone that's applying is mentioned basically our podcast because they have heard about it or have listened to it, or at least in some episodes. Not every episode, it would be maybe a little bit too much, but at least they got some idea and got some touch points and get involved with that. And this is helping us as well because we don't have to spend that much extra money in finding new people, because then people find us already. And it's like also a good thing to have. And other than that, it's no real magic sauce because we are basically doing all the things that the other investment banks are also doing. So we're also doing our sector reports like everyone else is doing. But at the end of the day, it's just what are you making out of this, basically, of this origination tool? So you can just send it out and say, hey, look, no one has replied, I don't care. Or you can also pick up the phone and try to talk to people and getting a little bit more deep dived and more involved. So it's like always to see how you get involved in certain, I'd say, in certain origination methods or funnels. And it's no real secret. So we are not doing anything different than everyone else out there. Of course, we might have a little bit more of a social media mix involved in our origination activities that others might not have in that high frequency as we do. So I do lots of LinkedIn stuff where I met lots of new entrepreneurs, talking to them every day. This is also working great, but of course it's also work. You have to connect to people, you have to write them, you have to talk to them. And at the end of the day, not every conversation turns into a project. You have to have many talks of that, but this is also one key point why we were able to grow that fast, because we have different, I'd say, different working areas basically, because Oliver is doing more the operating stuff and also more the internal things like accounting and the staffing and the IT systems. Of course, he's also doing business development, but he has more operating projects than I do because he's stronger in that. Of course, I also have some projects where I'm involved and working on, but a little less because I spend my main time in origination and marketing, basically. So this is my main key role here at Block Management. And this is why it works so good, because we function that well together, because everyone has its own competence area and we are fulfilling that. And this is the reason why Block Management was able to grow that massively, because if you look at a normal partner cycle, basically the partner is originating a project, then client is requesting, hey, look, you need to work on that project, you need to be present. So he has lots of time spent more on operating things than on origination things. So cash flow curve goes down again because he cannot originate while he's working on a project. Then he's closing that project, he has cash, but then he falls down because then he's just picking up origination again. And so he always has these waves in his personal profit and loss statement because he's not able to originate in the same way as he did before, because a client is requesting that he's also present on a project and working on a project. So it's like basically all the same time, the same curse and the same involvement, and we just try to figure it out or develop a system how to break through that and say, look, we want to grow, and if we are just doing the same things as others doing in that industry, you are not really able to grow that fast, at least as we are. If you're a smaller organization, if you're a big organization, of course you have different sales and, or I'd say, origination and execution teams basically. So in bigger organizations it's more divided, so they are able to do more things but or higher traffic. But at the end of the day, all those big investment banks that have those teams are not doing our small or mid cap business because they don't go in that industry, because for them the deals are too small. This is, I'd say, our advantage or our benefit, because we don't compete against the real big players because they are just doing large cap and they have the power to do more origination. But luckily for us, they are not really going down in our bracket. This is basically the advantage we have and how we want to scale and how we want to grow, because not everyone in our bracket is doing it the way we are doing it. I guess this is maybe a little advantage there.
Super interesting. I think listening, I guess, playing to your strength, so splitting the strength so you can focus on more of what you need to do. The multiple funnels is a really important point, right? The podcast, the newsletter, the sector reports, events. I know we didn't touch on that, but I know that you're big in that space as well. And it's interesting your approach with social media and LinkedIn, because certainly with a lot of the leaders that I work with, especially at bigger boutiques and bulge and large firms, they're very limited on what they can and can't do through LinkedIn. And I think that creates space for those who are willing to use it in the right way to stand out. Obviously, knowing your target market, as you said, and playing at the level where there's space for you to capture more deals. So lots of interesting points there. I speak to a lot of VPs, and it's the real challenge moving from that executor to origination. Do you have any more advice for VPs to bridge that gap quicker and take the step from executor to originator, given they're still doing execution and managing a team? Any extra advice for VPs that are listening today?
Yeah, it's rough. I've been in that position before. I was not an entrepreneur all my life, all my career. So I was a normal employee before. I was also VP and director before. So I know it's rough. But at the end of the time, you need to block your calendar with origination. Even today, if I'm doing administrative stuff or lots of origination, I still have those block times every day in my calendar because I want to have that free time and my hands free that I know I can focus 100% of origination. The best time is to block it right away in the morning. I know it's tough. Sometimes it's not working out, but you should at least do, I'd say, 2 to 3 hours every day. And you need to do that origination in normal working life hours, I'd say, where normal real people are also present because I don't need to call a potential client at 1 a.m. in the morning. This just does not work. So basically, you need to organize your calendar that you have your hands free between the normal working hours where you reach normal people that have normal lives, I'd call it. It's very important that you do that basically every day and that you work on building up your own pipeline. And it's not that hard. You can do that next to your normal project. If you're working on an operating project, like I said, look at your long list, add those people to your LinkedIn account, start networking with them, try to call them, phone them. You don't need to call everyone every day. So it's like basically you have also origination cycles. So if you call them like every 2 or 3 months, get in touch with them, get involved with them, go out, grab lunch with them. So you can do many origination things. So you can either go out and grab some lunch and go back to your desk and just eat your lunch alone, or you try to reach out to those interesting contacts and you can have maybe a lunch date and talk to them. And so you're doing also origination while you're eating. So it's not really a waste of time because you get food and you basically make a good contact there and maybe you transform those contacts into a new lead basically. So at the end of the day, it's like just what you make out of it. And many people are just sitting there and doing their standard work, basically, what they're expected to do. But you always need to keep in mind if you want to move up or make that next level step, basically, you need to start doing your origination, even on VP level. So it's not just organizing and running teams like I also did before, but it's also like connecting to many interesting leads, potential clients, opportunities as possible. And you need to find a way to make space available in your calendar. Ideally, every day. Of course, it does not work every day. I also know how it is, but you need to keep in mind that this is also a consistent marathon. So it's not a sprint. It's not, oh, I block 1 day and then I run like 2,000 mails a day and then nothing happens. And then the next days I have my hands free. So it's more like that you do a little bit every day, also connecting people through LinkedIn, trying to reach out to them, making lunch dates, trying to phone them, seeing if they need some help with something. It's like also, or sometimes it's, I'd say, these small things that also have some bigger impact. And it's like everything is around routine or is about routine at the end of the day. So if you can develop a routine where you integrate this in your normal daily working schedule, of course, if you take 2 to 3 hours off your normal working hours for origination, you might need to be able to put those hours late night or put them after your normal schedule. But this is how you basically have to deal with it or run with it. So I did this as well. And I guess this is like no secret, but you can do all the PowerPoint and modeling, etc. You can do that at night when you don't reach out to anyone or when no one is picking up the phone. And in normal working day hours, you need to be on the phone and talk to people and do also some origination stuff for you as well.
I find it I'm really intrigued by the working it into your day. I think the thing you mentioned about lunch and being efficient with your time and working origination into the daily flow, I think is really sensible. I've heard other leaders say that. It's definitely something that I try to approach with my team as well, who are very busy with different projects and mandates. And it's like, this is an easy way to build on your work efficiently by building it into your routine. I like the thing you say about blocking time. I think a lot of that, it comes down to routine, as you say, or discipline. I think makes a big difference in the approach. And again, it seems starting early is good. Do you feel, you mentioned you had sales training. Do you think this is something that investment bankers would benefit from, doing some sales courses or Is that too much of a stretch? It's okay just to learn origination within the day-to-day and within your current role?
Learning on the job is always good if you have someone, or if you're a director or a partner or managing director that is very strong with sales. So it would be helpful if those people in that organization take you with them on their route. I know that not everyone is doing that because it's like a very protective industry. No one would really like to share their leads or how they do it, and they're not really open for that. But of course, everything that is teaching you soft skills is helping you at the end of the day. It's not only about sales, it's also about communication, how you talk, which topics you talk, how do you make yourself interesting to other people. This is also very important, but you can also work on your soft skills by, maybe you don't have to do classes or courses, you can also read books. So there are many good books out there to just try or to start with that, because at the end of the day, to be a good salesman, you have to become, or you have to train your soft skills. And I know this is really hard in the clash of cultures, because people that are normally good at hard skills are not the best ones at soft skills. It's not easy to learn because you have to be sensitive when you talk to someone in real life and you talk to him. You have to be like very sensitive, or have like very fine sensors, basically, in which direction does the communication go? How do I talk to him? Does he like my approach? Do I have to shift? So there are many variables if you talk to someone in real life, and you will figure that out very quickly during that conversation if someone has very good soft skills or is rather a little bit more on the rougher side, I'd call it, yeah, because he has more like hard skills. But in order to be a good salesperson, of course, you can do sales courses. But I think before you start with those sales courses selling people something, you need to take one step back and start working on your soft skills, because your soft skills are basically main key driver, because this is how you present yourself, how you act, how you react also. And this all starts with your soft skills, and you can train that and learn that. And of course, you can start maybe by reading some books about it. Book reading time is for me also at night time, so I don't read that much, but it's also consistency and discipline, like you said. So I read every night, even if it's 2 or 3 pages. If I'm getting off work at 2 or 3 a.m., doesn't matter. I take out my book that I have and I do maybe like one chapter, maybe 2, 3 pages, however I feel, but at least I do something. So it's like the little steps, being consistent every day, doing something. It does not have to be much, but at the end of the day, if you read 3 pages every day, in a year, you read like over 1,000 pages a year. So this is also progress. So you don't have to say, oh, look, I need to read an entire book every night. It's not the plan. So the plan is to work on your things that you need in order to be successful, which is also maybe soft skills, and you do it step by step. It's like you said, it's like a marathon, and it's discipline, and it's not a sprint. And I met very successful people in my life before, and everything or everyone has the same routine or discipline in common. They become successful because they have discipline and they have the routine, and they don't go another path. So they do that routine and discipline every day. If you get up at 7 a.m., you also get up at 7 a.m. on Sunday. You don't sleep till 10 a.m., you get up because it's your routine, and you don't break your routine. You always stay in your routine, you stay disciplined, and they don't do big steps or big jumps. They just work on it step by step. And this makes you also successful. Like I said with the book, you read 2 or 3 pages every day, you get 1,000 pages done a year. This is very good progress. 1,000 pages can be maybe like 2 or 3 books. So it's completely fine and perfect. And if this is the way that fits in your schedule, fine. But you have to do it. You have to discipline to say, hey, even if it's 3 a.m. and I get home late and I have to get up at 7, but I still have to force myself to read through those 2 or 3 pages. Doesn't matter if you are going to an event, if you drink wine, you don't feel like it doesn't matter. You have to read those 3 pages. It's just like that. And if you stick to that routine and discipline, you will become successful sooner or later. So this is what really all successful people have in common. And I met many successful people in my life, or I was lucky to meet them, and they were all telling me the same thing. So of course, it's very interesting to see that everyone is developing their own routines and disciplines along their way, but they all have that in common. They all develop that. So it doesn't matter what your routine is, but you need to have one. So someone is getting up late, so this is okay. They stay up late at night, they go to bed maybe at 4 or 5, but then they don't get up before 10 a.m. It's also fine if they are successful and if they have their own routine. This is also amazing, but they always stick to the same program. So they don't change the plan or the program every day. So they develop something that fits to them and their schedule, and they stick to it.
It's interesting that you've seen that across many successful leaders you've met. And again, I definitely believe in discipline, and reading has changed my career a lot. An old CEO introduced me to a kind of book club when I was a very young in the industry, and there's so much out there that can help you sharpen the saw and improve your skills. I think it's a must.
Yeah, I don't want to raise my finger here because I also hate reading. I like flipping through Instagram and all those kinds of things. I also love that. I don't lie. So I know that this is more fun to flip through all those reels and short videos and so on. It's so much fun, but at the end of the day, yeah, it's like not something that brings you forward in life, makes you moving on or makes you make progress in life. I know it's also, for me, it's also tough because I'm not the real book reader guy or the bookworm, however you call it. So it's also tough for me. I also have to force myself to do it. But yeah, it's not like I don't want to raise a finger and say, look, I'm the perfect guy. I have the master plan. No, for me, it's also tough. I would rather have my Instagram open and flip through the reels. No lies. So this is also something I'd rather like to do than reading those 3 pages at night. But yeah, it's something, if you have a routine, sometimes it's rough. You have to stick to it. And then, yeah, you have to stick to the master plan, basically. Yeah.
The social media curse. If we can stay away from that and focus on things that make you grow, I'm sure we'd all move forward a lot quicker. Yeah, thanks for being honest and sharing. Even as a successful leader of a boutique, these things come up. This is a leadership podcast, so I guess I'm interested in some of your hard-won lessons in leadership and entrepreneurship. You've worked at smaller firms, you've led large firms, and now obviously part of a startup boutique. What have been your biggest leadership lessons?
Biggest leadership lessons? That's a good question. Yeah, what are my biggest lessons? Basically, I'd say the organizational change or move, however you call it, because at the beginning it was just Oliver and myself. So we were basically on the same level. We were like business partners. We had a very good link. We know what to do. And then all of a sudden you have all those people in the organization and you start to build up an organization. You are responsible for people. You have to make care that they get their paycheck every month and you have responsibility. And all of a sudden, those people, they are real people. So they have also real problems. So and they come to you with all that problems. And all of a sudden, you are also a mediator in your own company because you have to lead and give them direction. And of course, it always depends on, or what I figured out, it always depends on what kind of leader you want to be, because I also knew from my internship that you can also treat interns in a very hard or rough way, I'd say. Yeah. Or you can also try to teach them in a more friendly way or more friendly environment, because I always keep in mind that I was also an intern before and how I got basically treated, and that I don't want to treat people like that, because the interns from today might be the MDs in the future. And if you treat them good, they remember. And then all of a sudden, you also make business with your interns because you treated them well. This is also something I knew already because those are my values. And I never treated people bad, even as a VP. And I never said, look, I'm your boss, you have to do that. And we always had a nice and brief discussion about that, because treating people bad because you only are in that position does not give you the right to do that. This is also something I learned from the very early days, because I know how bad treatment can feel like. Yeah. And even if you're an intern and if you are really on the low end of the pyramid, basically at the end of the day, I always remember that. And I'm always nice to my people and I always try to teach them those values, even if it's not that easy. I know that in investment banking boutiques and also bigger banks, sometimes it's very hectic because you have lots of work on your table. You might not get the sleep you need. You might be a little bit moody, I'd say. Yeah. And then you might not always be nice, but you need to find a way how to be efficient and still be nice to the people, because at the end of the day, they are also working for you. Of course, they are just interns at the beginning, but later on, if they get settled in the industry, it can really bring you further or help you, because those people are also talking to each other. And of course, I know that big brands see that maybe sometimes a little bit different, because they say, look, we are a big brand and we don't really need to treat them right because we have so many applications and we can just choose and they need to come to us. And so it doesn't matter how you treat them. No, for me, it's not like that. We also have over 1,000 applications a year. It's not like that we are having only 10 a year or something like this. And I also treat people nice. It was just a very nice coincidence. Yesterday, I was talking to someone who's still at school and who wanted to do already an internship at school. And then, of course, it's rough. It's not possible to do because you need like at least 3 months as an intern. But then I also said, look, come on, I talk to you. I take half an hour of my schedule. You want to be an intern? Let's talk. And I talked to him and I said, look, it's just not possible because you can only do 2 to 3 weeks in your vacation time during school break or summer break or whatever break. And then, yeah, we also figured out out, look, you have a good plan, you're interested in this industry, but you also need to have some basics because in order to work for us, our interns are not just cooking coffee because they're really working with us. And so you need to have like basic accounting skills. You need to know how balance sheets works, how profit and loss statements looking like, how cash flow statements looking like. Oh yeah, look, I don't know those things, but I can prepare. And then I said, look, you can read into it, you can read those books, you have plenty of time, just finish your school, go to study, and then when you study, we can talk. Then just give me a call if you're on second semester or something like this, then you can give me a call and then we can talk and then we can see if we find a good internship for you that you can follow your goal. If your goal is to work in investment banking in a bigger bank or private equity, then of course I'm also very supportive. And I have 4 to 5 people in that direction that are calling me or where we have frequently calls or updates and that might want to have some tips or something like this. And I'm always open for that. So I always try to take some time off my schedule to help other people that really want to go in that industry to show them a way how to do it. For me, it's also important because it's like also more, I don't want to do here the charity channel or something like this, but for me, it's like always something that I can give back maybe to some people, to community basically, to help them out, to at least have the chance to talk to someone on MD level is like also not the regular basis, or that someone is answering you through LinkedIn. And here, even if a normal school student or student writing an MD, they normally don't answer. But I think it's worth a try and to talk to those people. And I have 4 to 5 people in my circle around me that are contacting me on frequently basis where we exchange ideas. And so I always try to help them out as well because I knew how it feel as I was an intern because no one is really wants to talk to you. And I think this can also be great value not only for them but also for me at the end of the day because they will get jobs eventually and they will always remember if you treat them right. This is like one of my biggest leadership lessons, that you should never forget where you came from basically, or where you started, because you also started at some point of your career at the bottom. And you should always remember that, and you should always be grateful for where you are at right now. And why not helping people out? I'm never say, look, I'm too busy, I don't care, go somewhere else. Because if I can help, and if those people, or if they find it helpful for them, if I just take 30 minutes off my weekly calendar, why not just do it? It's not too hard to find like 30 minutes in a calendar in a week. And why not giving them the chance and they're happy about that and you can help them, support them. And yeah, this is just a way how I see it or how I approach things. And it might be a little bit different than the classic industry partner or MD guys, but I like the way that we are a little bit different and supportive. And I guess this is why we also have that many applications, because people really enjoy it and like it and respect it, that we do things differently and breaking a little bit into that industry in a different way. Why not try it this way? No reason to be arrogant or anything like this. Yeah.
I think it's great that you put yourself in your shoes to remember how it was for you coming into industry, and despite getting to the top and now leading your own boutique, you're still humble about where you came from. And I think it's great that you're proactive and intentional about connecting with those coming through and building community. I share that purpose in helping the community. That's why we do this podcast and why we have the IB Leaders Club, and the content and the community we're building there is to give back and to help. So I think it's admirable, given how busy you are, that you do take the time to do that. So keep up the good work in that area. And what would you say is the type of culture or the kind of culture you're building at Block? And more importantly, how do you protect it as you scale? Because I'm sure that becomes more challenging, as you've already touched on, as the team gets bigger.
It is indeed. It's very challenging, but yeah, we always try to have a very good working culture or working environment. So it's like not the classic rough M&A investment banking environment with us, because at the beginning we also hired or sourced people out of our own network. So we have many people that we are former colleagues where we work together. So and we knew, okay, it's matching very well. So this was our first source of people basically. And this worked out very well because we knew already how they act, how they behave. And so we were able to shape a very good culture, because we also try to see us more as entrepreneurs, I'd say, or more like startup like. And we try to keep up that startup culture here in our organization, because we were just starting 3 years ago and everything was new. And we are always trying to take every employee of us with us on our journey. So we always say, look, if we have maybe new investment opportunities, we are able to invest together. So we don't leave them behind. And we always say, look, if it comes to bonus season, employees first. So we first pay our people, they get bonuses before Oliver and myself take something out. So normally it's like that, okay, the partner takes out a big chunk and then the rest can be shared, and sometimes there is nothing left, but this is not our approach. So we say, look, people, because we are just a service provider, so all we have those people and this service we offer. So it's not that we have a product but which we can sell, so we only sell time, and we have people that are doing that. And so for us it's very important to have that, or to keep that team basically to get together, to make that team happy. So everyone can come to us every time and say, look, can we do this? We might need this, we can improve here. And we listen and we try to also make those things happen. And like I said, also when it's time for bonus season, employees first. And later on, if something is left, then Oliver and I, we will look at it and say, look, maybe there is something left, maybe not. But we always put our people first. So this is what we also did the last 3 years. So we paid the bonuses for our people. But for us, there was no real shareholder or dividend or anything like this for us left, because we wanted to protect the team and the people, and we were growing massively. So we were investing lots of people and marketing activities. And so there was no real dividend for us left in the last 3 years, which was completely fine because our people got their bonuses. And this was more important for us than just having the money for us as shareholders at the end of the day, because we really want to keep and protect the team at the end of the day. And so we're always putting the team first. Of course, sometimes the team culture, we also say to the people, look, you work here, you need to develop your own team culture, because it cannot be given by the MD. No one can, or I cannot go to the team and say, look, you need to have team culture, you need to do this or that. People need to develop it by themselves, by working basically together. So they need to implement their own culture. Of course, we can give a push in the right direction. We also say, look, let's do a team event, or let's do this or that. But for us, it's also better when it comes more organically from the people themselves, because they always can say, look, I want to do a team event, let's do this or this next month. And Oliver and myself, we never say no. So we are really happy if someone is taking the initiative and trying to move things forward or is doing a team event. We also had some interns that were just organizing it. So we had a team event like every month. They said, look, we go there, we go to this wine bar, we go this, we do this together. And so the interns even organized it. And then we all went there and we said, hey, look, it's not a problem. We take the bill. It's on the company. So we go out there, and it's just more like having that cultural thing where people come together. And if the employees are doing it by themselves, it's the best way to implement a culture, because you cannot really implement a culture. You cannot tell people how to react and act every day. So they have to figure it out themselves. We can just give them a good, nice, friendly environment where they can develop it. But at the end of the day, they have to develop it by themselves.
I can see why the people first approach is so powerful. And I guess as part of a team for a boutique that's challenging the established, that must be quite exciting and give the team a fair amount of purpose, and the events make sense. And I agree with you to some extent that every team member is responsible for culture and helping set the standards and accountability. So I like that take. Believe it or not, Marcel, we're coming towards the end of the episode. So just a couple of quick questions. We've already touched on books quite a bit in the episode, but I always ask guests which books or podcasts or materials, there's so many resources these days, have had the biggest impact on your career.
Oh, that's a very nice question. I think one good book is maybe Atomic Habits. This is very interesting, also a game changer. Yeah, I would recommend at least reading it or through it.
Nice. The Atomic Habits, great book, and that kind of mindset about 1% better, right? And how the 1% better is not that hard to get, and over a period of time compounds to something really special. So a big fan of that book. And I guess the final one, if you could give one piece of advice to an investment banker who wants to one day build their own boutique, what would it be?
First of all, you need to have your basic groundwork together, be always on your toes, and start networking as early as possible to build up contacts and have your own contacts. And this is basically the key, because at the end of the day, you need clients, you need mandates, because without clients, mandates, and origination, it's rough out there to build your own boutique.
Amazing. What great advice to end. Build early, get the networking done, and build those origination skills, and the rest will take care of itself with the harder work. Marcel, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for sparing some time to speak with me today and sharing your wisdom with our audience. It's much appreciated, and I'm sure they'll take a lot away from the episode. So thank you.
Thank you for having me here. Yeah. Thank you very much. Take care. Thank you.
This episode of the podcast was brought to you by the Investment Banking Leaders Club. And to keep leveling up your career, join the club at ibleadersclub.com for exclusive insights, leadership strategies, and career growth resources straight from the industry's top professionals. I want to say thanks to our key partner, Outram, the global leader in financial deal gifts, awards, and recognition, for their ongoing support of our mission to empower both aspiring and senior investment banking leaders. I really hope you enjoyed today's episode. Thanks for tuning in. And until next time, best of luck on your growth journey.